Anna is living life and finding new friendships, while Kimmy is fighting for her life. Let's see how it plays out. Kimmy used all her senses to assess her environment. She smelled the damp, musty odor associated with an underground structure. Her eyes adjusted to the dimly lit space, and she saw nothing of importance. There were shelving units on the wall across from her, and there were boxes, paint cans, and everyday basement things. She kept trying to figure out the chains. She couldn't understand the strength they had. Why couldn't she break free? Nothing had ever been able to confine her that way. She was chained to the chair, somehow embedded in the floor's concrete. She could pull it free, but then what? She couldn't break the chains. She heard something moving around upstairs. It moved back and forth across the floor slowly, like someone pacing on a telephone. She listened closely for anything she might hear that would give her a clue about what the hell was happening. Suddenly, light flooded the space, and footsteps pounded on the stairs. A man she had never seen before came walking into her space. He was humming to himself like she wasn't even sitting in the room. Hello?" Kimmy said in a very annoyed manner. The man didn't acknowledge her at all. He moved around the room, peeking in random boxes, and still hummed like a lunatic. Finally, the strange man walked over to her and leaned in close. "First thing we are going to establish here is that you only speak when you're spoken to," he said. A quick strike across her face emphasized his statement. Even though she would heal, the pain was still very real. Kimmy could smell no life within this man. She was totally confused by his actions. Immortals were not like this. They were generally a live and let live group. This guy was something different. Kimmy's heart picked up its pace, and he knew it. "That's right, that's how I like it. It would be best if you were afraid. You have every reason to be. Do you recognize me?" he asked. Kimmy stared at his face but had no idea who he was. Then a tiny bit of recognition came to her, though still nothing concrete. She scrunched her brows in consideration, but still nothing. "Answer me!" he screamed. "I don't know your name, but you do seem familiar," Kimmy said. "Well, I should hope so. I have been around a long time. I was doing this when your little ass was still in diapers," he said. He paced the floor in front of her with a look of satisfaction at her recognition. After that, she just sat quietly, trying to understand her current situation. "What am I doing here?" Kimmy asked. "I'm so glad you asked, my dear. You are a part of a long line of extraordinary women. I handpicked you for this little club. You should feel honored," he explained. "I don't get it. What am I doing here?" Kimmy asked again. She was growing impatient with this dick with every passing moment. She knew she was going to snap, or he was. She just hoped she was able to do something if he decided to. "I said, don't open your mouth unless I say so," he screamed. This time, his words were accompanied by a slash to her face. He had sliced her face from the corner of her mouth to her ear. The blood rushed from the gash. Kimmy screamed in both terror and fear. Real fear was a foreign emotion to her. She had no fear of anyone, mortal or immortal. He grabbed the arms of the chair she was in and leaned close to her face. He licked the blood from her cheek, even as it healed itself. Kimmy couldn't help but gag and pull back from him. "Where do you think you're going to go, Kimmy?" he asked. He laughed, and the sound shattered her very core. Kimmy knew she was in for some very horrific shit here. She had no idea how she would ever get free. Her only hope was Lana. She was expecting to find Kimmy in her room the following day. All Kimmy had to do was make it through the night, and she was sure Lana would know something was wrong. "Let's play a little game," the terrifying man said. Kimmy tensed. She didn't like the sound of that at all. She wanted to be able to fight, and that wasn't possible. The man slowly began to cut away her clothing, and she was entirely at his mercy. She would close her eyes and go deep into her mind, just as she had done in her mortal years when her stepfather had slithered into her room at night. She would leave her body and hide in her mind. Yes, that was what she would do. She would survive, just like she always did. Kimmy learned the chains could be moved and positioned any way her tormentor wanted during the night. She didn't understand what the chains were, but she knew that to escape, she had to figure them out. She had no idea when the night ended because she was in the dark, windowless basement. But her captor slept and woke as though morning had come. The torture she endured that night was sexual in nature. It was the same depraved acts any rapist found exciting. Although disgusted, Kimmy was mad. Oh, the way she would destroy this man when she figured out how to get out of here. The unnamed assailant went upstairs without a word to Kimmy. She sat in her cold, hard metal chair and ran different rescue or escape plans through her mind. First, there was Lana. She would realize something was wrong, retrace her steps home, and find her purse. She thought she must have dropped it there because she didn't see it anywhere in the room. She would then come and find her. Second, this fool would unchain her. Then, believing she was the stronger of the two, she would rip his heart from his chest. The second was the least likely of the ideas she had for escape. Third, Kimmy wondered what would happen if she pulled and pulled until the flesh peeled from her bones and she could slip her hands free. For some reason, she had little faith this would work. The chains had tightened on her wrists any time she struggled to get free. She didn't understand. Nothing had ever acted in this manner before. Kimmy suddenly snapped her head up, and her large eyes became even more prominent, in the grips of possible understanding. The chains were spelled. That was the only explanation. How in the world did he get spelled chains? Any witch who lived in the free world was long dead. The magic would have been broken at the time of their death. Nothing went in or out of the farms without inspection. The gatekeeper would have definitely noticed chains shoved down the front of someone's pants. So how did he do it? And how could she undo it? Kimmy decided that since the monster was gone, she would close her eyes for a minute to keep up her strength. She had recently fed, so she would be okay for a while. She felt that the monster wouldn't let her starve. He was enjoying this too much. Poor Kimmy. How will she ever survive? We will find that out next time. Until then, bye for now.